can.
I don't know. We'll leave
Oh,
it.
there we see.
Yeah, we don't want any of those.
I got to go. I think I told you this. When we get done, I'm going to coach basketball practice. So I got to be comfortable.
Well, be careful. I'm not sure league rules are about intoxicated coaches. So we play a game
Ah,
at the start of the show. It's through the whole
impressive.
show. It's called Acrosym.
Okay.
And if you say any acronyms or initialisms, then you have to drink from your penalty drink. What are
Okay.
you drinking, by the way?
Woodford and Coke.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big bourbon guy. Here, I'll show you how I offset my surfer. I usually only drink Whistle Pig, of the
Yep.
older ages, but Woodford's okay for the regular folk. It's not bad.
It goes well with a hoodie, I
It's what I
think.
would go to if I was at some cheesy little bar that just didn't have the good stuff. If I saw Woodford, I would gravitate towards
You'd
that
gravitate toward that. Yeah.
for
If that was
sure.
like the lowest form of bar you'd ever been in.
Yes,
Yeah.
which would have been a mistake on my part anyways. Like, how did I end up there? What the fuck?
I do see Preston.
Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the good old regular format of Retireholics, the first Thursday of the month. But no, not just your typical Retireholics, not regular by any stretch of the imagination, because this is probably going to be the best fucking episode of Retireholics in the history of Retireholics. Why, you ask? Because Chad Johansson, Nerdy Chad, and Mark Palmini, Robe Guy, are at I'm going to drink for this, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Guess I'll drink twice because, yeah, I don't know.
The ampersand.
Yeah.
You went with two acronyms.
And Justin is in Australia, mates. He's in Australia. So it's just me, which I'm claiming this is perfect. I lose all the dead weight of my co-hosts. It's finally my chance to go solo. It's my Beyonce moment. It's my Timberlake moment. So get ready. It's going to be a fucking banger. See? Webby's excited. So am I. Let's intro the guests, shall we? Let's give the guests an intro today and not do it in a shitty Justin way. We'll do it in a kick-ass JD way. Remember, my name is not a penalty. No, that's the only one. Yep. Everybody, a real Retireholic knows this. Obviously, Matthew's never watched this show before.
No. Wait, what is this?
Our guest today is the frickin' National Retirement Practice Leader for Qualified Plan Advisors. He's a JD, and I have to drink for that, but not in the cool way, in the attorney kind of way. He's a JD, IO2. He has more than 20 years of private legal practice doing just employee benefit stuff. In 2023, he was inducted. Are you ready for this, everybody? He was inducted as a fellow in the American College of Employee Benefits Council. I don't know what that is. I've heard the term. It sounds super fancy. Super fancy. I think he's out of Omaha, just not in agreement. Are you out of Omaha? Is that where you live?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And it looks like he has his finger in a lot of things. Currently looking over the financial wellness platform at Qualified Plan Advisors. He creates like their fiduciary education, their training resources, news alerts, and he can rock a white paper. The boy can rock a fucking white paper. And he supports the firm's institutional clients in a variety of ways. The guy's got skills. And Scott Colangelo, former guest on this show, and the head honcho over there, described him as, quote, one of the wittiest, funniest, and intelligent people he has ever worked with. Welcome to the show, Maddie. Can I call you Maddie? I don't care. I'm going
Absolutely.
to. Eichmann.
Thanks for having me. That's pretty good, JD. I think of all the episodes that I've watched, that was probably the best introduction I've ever seen.
I agree with
Good.
you.
That was really,
So
really
far,
good.
we are on the way to the best
Right.
show ever.
We're
Well
good.
done.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm
Are
ready.
you ready to go, Maddie?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Brandon, let's do headlines. Let's go, motherfucker. All right, I lied to you because this is not really a headline, but we're going to treat it as a headline. Brian Graff, Q Butterbeer video, if we have it, and the American Retirement Association calling out Teresa Gillardi.
Yummy.
There he is, Mr. Butterbeer himself. Calling out Teresa Gillardi on an article that she had written, and he said this at the end of it. After he bitched about it, he said, "Enough already," with a really kind of sick face emoji. Brian is pissed. He's tired of this woman claiming that the 401k is a total failure and then we need to scrap the whole thing and burn it and start over and come up with some, I'm making up my own words now, but like socialist kind of government-backed replacement solution. I'm going to go straight to you, Matthew. Are you familiar with this woman?
Yeah,
Are you familiar
absolutely.
with this piece? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a communist and on her side, or are you against her? Yes or no?
The compound question.
No. Just give me your thoughts on this. Give me your thoughts.
And yes. I just think it's kind of stunning, right? So a lot of the people complain about 401k and they say that the DB system was so much better. So we threw the baby out with the bathwater now with DB plans. And so the answer is that we should just scrap 401k plans. Right. And so it's like this idea that the best way to get a headline like this is just to swing that pendulum all the way over to some opposite direction. And, I think like Brian's approach is like, why be so extreme regarding this experiment? And instead, why don't we talk about solutions and perhaps, I don't know if incremental change is enough, but like policy improvements that will apply to what we have. So
I think there's a couple of moving factors here. I think she also brings up the point that these 401k plans, this experiment over the last few decades, as she calls it, is slanted towards the wealthy and the high paid, right? This is a tax advantage thing for the big shots, and the rank and file don't get to take advantage of it. Now, I think we all have self-admitted that there's a coverage gap, but it looks to me like through Secure 2.0, not an acronym, and through everything we've done around automatic enrollment and automatic increases, the new tax credits that are on board through Secure 2.0, the mandatory automatic enrollment plans for new plans, I'm not going to put those in the mix, but we are making huge efforts towards continuing to improve what I think has already been, and a lot of stats back this up, a pretty damn good thing over the last few decades to build wealth. So what do you think to this comment that these are built for the rich business owners and the executives and not for the benefit of the rank and file employees?
Well, first of all, I think, this idea that because the tax benefit with your last dollar and your marginal tax bracket, because it does help somebody in a higher tax bracket by a few more pennies with the last dollar that they put in, that therefore it's not good for other people is a little bit extreme to begin with. And then secondly, I feel like the comments from her in particular kind of ignore everything that's happened. Let's go all the way back to and not use the acronym Pension Protection Act of 2006, or PPA, as some might say.
Well played.
And recognize the improvements that have been made. So what would have been really nice is if the approach that she took was, hey, we're still not there yet. We've made a lot of good strides, but these are the 4 or 5 things that need to happen next.
Right.
Instead of this idea that it's a failure, so what we should do is we should go have the government run the whole thing, because that's working out really, really well for all the states.
I think that's the problem, Maddie, is because I think if you ask her what the right solution is, and I'm sure she's telling the truth from her perspective, is she doesn't think we fix this kind of private system. She thinks the government should step in and take this over. And so this always kind of confuses me, because I said this to this guy the other day, like we were talking about this briefly, and I'm like, don't we have a government program? Like, don't they take money out of my paycheck all the time and put it away so I can have some source of revenue in my retirement? Like, the government's already playing in this game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it almost ignores Social Security entirely. And, the other thing that I think about quite a bit is, this idea of retirement is actually still a relatively new concept, isn't it? Like, if you think about the history of the country, I mean, it's old to like those of us who are here, but like, I mean, what
You
are
mean
we?
in like the 20s and the 30s and
20s and
40s, you
30s, like
just work till you die?
you work till you die, right? And then so what's happened now is people expect they're going to live longer. They're going to enter the workforce later. So they're actually going to work for a much smaller percentage of the years that they're alive. And then there's the concern that we don't have a 401k system to take care of them in the right way. So we should move it all over to the government. It just doesn't seem to add up to me.
Let me if anyone hasn't seen this, and then we'll wrap up this
Yeah.
little section, but it's Brian Graff's post on LinkedIn, as I mentioned. It's got 327 likes, and it's got 70 plus comments, and I highly recommend reading the comments. The comments are way more fun than going to the actual pensions and investments article. So please do that. Let me give you a few examples of some of the comments. One of them said, quote, "Oh, her again," throw up emoji, which I thought was really fun. Another one said, "Everyone gets a trophy. No one wants to work. We're all victims, and the government is here to save us." That was another comment. Nevin Adams, God bless him. Nev, I'll drink for that, commented a very depressing, just kind of in brackets. He said, "Sigh." Nevin just doesn't have the energy anymore. He's just tired of debating this woman. George Fraser, big time advisor.
Yep. Pennies. Pick up a penny. Pick up a penny,
yes,
George.
That's the man.
There you
Called
go.
her a disgrace. And then someone else quoted lyrics from Janet Jackson's Control song. And I think they were referring to the government wanting control of this. So yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it, is in a simple matter, and we'll close it. You can have the final thought here, Maddie, but is like, do we really want the government doing this thing? I mean, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like two quick things. One, so the last time you needed to mail something, send it. Did you think USPS first, or did you think, do I go to FedEx or UPS first?
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, privatization is going to win out over time. And then secondly, and this is the part, this will make you super jealous. We were at a meeting at the U.S. Treasury building in May, and we were talking about this provision in Secure 2.0, not an acronym, talking about the need to make it easier for people to roll money out of a plan into a new plan. If anybody's been through that process, you know that the new plan's really good at taking your money, but the old plan makes it super hard for it to leave. You know what prompted most of that? It was a high-ranking Department of Labor official's experience trying to get her money out of the TSP. She's like, "This is miserable. I can't get my money."
And Brandon, I think you got to rack them up for another one that chat bar called him out on, for the United States Postal Service. So you have 2 drinks, basketball coach, drink up. Yeah. I totally get that. I also at the same time feel like, and I don't want to get conspiracy theory, we kind of did that on the last show, but COVID kind of taught me that the government and all its organizations have some flaws too. There's some conflicts of interest. There's some power hungry people. I just think it's not a very smart idea to let the government get involved in a lot of things. And if that offends someone out there in terms of your political belief, fuck you.
I know we're supposed to move on, but
yeah,
don't we lose like an element of like the benefit of competition as well? This idea that like right now you got employers out fighting to find a way to differentiate themselves. And like, this is a super small issue, but like 10 years ago, almost everybody had vesting schedules, and pre-COVID they had vesting schedules. And now people are like, geez, we can't do that anymore. Well, if you're in the if you're in some sort of federal government program, they don't have to react to private forces like that.
I thought you were going to reference the competition between like service providers, and instead you reference the competition between actual plan sponsors. That's a great point, right? You know, that's a great point.
Yeah, I mean,
you see that a lot in Silicon Valley, where it's a tough market to hire new people, and the retirement plan ends up being that extra thing that if they really have a good one, they can lure someone to their company. We want that competition, is what you're saying, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great point.
Absolutely.
Great point. Brandon, we are going to, I've got a Smirnoff Ice here in front of me. Maddie, it's 245 calories and 32 grams of sugar. It's fucking diabetes in a bottle, and I'm about to suck it down because Brandon, you're going to spin the wheel of ice.
Diabetes.
I'm gonna drink for
all
my co-hosts.
The wheel of ice, the wheel of ice.
I didn't bring the words in the kitchen.
Hey, while this is happening, quick quiz question. How old do you think Wilford Brimley was when he made Cocoon?
How old was he when?
In Cocoon.
Oh.
Can you picture him in Cocoon?
That was in the 80s.
Yep.
Steve Gutenberg or whatever was in there, whatever. Jesus. You must know this answer, but I feel like you've frozen on me. Jeez, holy shit. My guess is going to be he was 65. Matthew, where are you? Is he frozen or have I frozen, everybody? Isn't that, you can't ask people if you've frozen because you're frozen.
He froze. You're moving just great.
Hackler just got a bump up on the standings for Chapter Champion tonight. He goes, best show ever. That's crazy. Hang on, let me finish this thing. I'm sure he'll figure shit out.
He might be Googling when Wilford Brimley.
If not, it actually will be the best show ever, because imagine me without my co-host and no guests. I just can do whatever the fuck I want.
All right, well.
Jesus fuck. I still have like a quarter of it left. Hang on, everybody.
Take some lessons from your kid.
There we go. All done. All right. Well, until he gets back, let me set up the next topic. We haven't really talked about the Fred and Evan show. Excuse me. That's actually what it should be named, huh? I got it wrong, but the Fred and Evan show. I might continue to refer to it as such. But they had their season 3, episode 15 on the Department of Labor's new fiduciary rule. Hey, buddy, you know, when you...
I'm back. I'm here.
Back. Let's talk a little and they've got a more recent episode, but on season 3, episode 5, which was the final one before season 4, they talked about the Department of Labor proposed fiduciary rule that came out on Halloween. They made some old guy boomer jokes about whether it was a trick or a treat, which I loved. I was laughing. Loved the boomer jokes from those guys. They're both icons and idols of mine. But I got to ask you, you're an attorney representing this large national firm of advisors, which to me, when people push back on this type of rule, and this is just kind of a revamp of a rule that we've been dealing with for some 50 years, and this would be Biden's version of this.
Yep.
And let me tell you, just kind of kick you off, Maddie, is that the Financial Services Institute claimed that this proposed rule would result in significant costs, impose undue burdens, and adversely affect Main Street American investors. They're also claiming that this rule would cost firms in our industry $2.7 billion in the first year and $2.5 billion in subsequent years. So I'm just going to kick it to you. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? The new proposed rules. There, let's just leave it at that. I don't need to compound the question for you.
Well, this will be interesting because I'm sure the comments can go like in two opposite directions
I would
here.
think.
But here's my straight answer. the louder somebody complains about this, the more a plan sponsor should want to keep those people away from their employees.
Wow. Okay. I didn't expect you to go that route, but all right.
Yeah. I mean, like, is it perfect? No, but there's, first of all, back when the 2016 rule went into effect for limited time before the federal court struck it down in Texas, there's no evidence of those increased costs that people described. And I think what's
You think they're
implicit in the
inflating
argument that you just,
the 2.7
oh,
billion
absolutely.
as a total inflation, right? Yeah.
And what you read, there's an implicit footnote in there, and what they're really saying is, if we have to give advice in the best interests of our customers, then we're not going to want to chase after people with smaller accounts anymore, because
Right.
what we're selling
Yes.
them isn't in their best interest.
It's a liability. The return on investment isn't worth it. The liability, so we'll ignore them. And then I think they also combined that with like, and we have to create training and paperwork and disclosures, and we have to like monitor. If you're a large broker dealer, and these are the people that are part that the FIS talks for, I'll drink, is big broker dealers, and there is like administrative costs that they're gonna have to bear to deal with new rules like this, because they have to monitor their 700 advisors across the country and make sure they're not slipping up in a foul of these rules. But I like where you went. You're basically saying, and this is kind of like where the dumb surfer goes, like, look, in the retirement plan space, aren't we all acting as fiduciaries? Like when we're directing committees or sitting down with participants, I feel like we all know that we're all acting in that space. Even Nevin says on the podcast that most of the advisors he knows would kind of look at this and say, his words were, yeah, so what? Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
However, can I ask you, is the industry as a whole also concerned though? And I don't know the answer to this. I'm not as well versed on this. This impacts rollovers in some way too, right? Where you have to be a little more cautious.
Yeah.
So what about rollovers? Is that a problem? And does companies like Empower, are they concerned about this new type of rule?
Well, I think on the first point, so I mean, that's probably the most critical aspect of this, is you got somebody who's in a plan their whole career, or their whole 2 years they spend with the company, whatever it is, and they got fiduciary protections all over the place. In theory, maybe a committee, maybe there's an outside advisor, whatever. And then the moment that they're going to leave, perhaps the biggest point, the most important advice point for them is what to do with that. Hey, take a rollover, take a distribution, and when you do it, here's what you do with that money. Boy, it seems to me like that's a great place to make sure those people have more protections. I mean, here we've got lawsuits filed over whether somebody was using the 8 basis point Vanguard fund instead of the 6 point basis point Vanguard fund. But then we're not paying attention when, somebody wants to, roll somebody into some overpriced annuity so they can charge 6 or 7% right up front. Like, come on. So, and I think also to Nevin's point, like a lot of people are, so what? We got enough other restrictions already in place, Reg BI, et cetera, where I think the investment professionals who have been successful for the last few years are the ones who are saying, hey, we don't love all the rules and restrictions, but like the mentality, the idea that like, hey, you go get a haircut, you think like they're going to cut your hair, it's going to be in your best interest. You go to a doctor, like, hey, they're going to give you advice that's in your best interest. Boy, when it comes to your retirement money, doesn't that make sense? So, I mean,
Nevin and Fred brought up another interesting thing. I was about to kind of kick out of this one and keep moving forward, but this caught my attention. I mentioned Secured 2.0 earlier. I mentioned this kind of this ambition of our industry to solve the coverage gap, and through these tax credits and automatic enrollment, really get out and start up a whole bunch of new plans. And I think it was Nevin that brought up, or maybe it was Fred that said like, ooh, like, I don't think our experts are going to be able to run out there at full speed and sell all these new tiny startup plans. So we're going to be looking more at a lot of these generalists or people kind of getting into the biz for the first time. And therefore, they were almost making the argument of like, do we really want to hold these people accountable to the ethics of a super good professional? And they were kind of two minds on it. But what do you think about that? Like, we got to go sell a bunch of startup plans, Maddie. And
no, in fact,
George Fraser
fact-
can't go sell them all. We got to go find that young, dumb, stupid guy at Edward Jones and send him out there. And he might not know
Yeah.
enough to properly be a fiduciary. I don't know. I'm making sure.
Or Edward Jones says, we don't want that stupid young fucker out there doing this, so we're not going to allow you to do it. And therefore, it's had the chilling effect that we really want, which is we don't want numbskulls out selling these things. We don't want them chasing
But
retirement
don't we maybe
businesses.
need numbskulls to sell a whole bunch of these to kind of change the coverage gap? Like we can't
Well, I think
send
there's a
401k pros everywhere. The money's not there. The revenue's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that begs a good question about whether the key to coverage is quality or quantity or some mixture of both, right? Like if we really improve the coverage gap, if we've given somebody an overpriced bad 401k plan, I mean, maybe,
That
and
is the
again,
argument.
I'm not a huge PEP pusher. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But like maybe a pooled employer plan is like, that's where you'll see some of those grow. That's where our firm's putting all startups. They're all going into the pooled employer plan.
You're
And they're getting a real plan.
You're getting my
Getting rid of
chat
that
bar.
acronym.
You're getting my chat bar fired up on me because I'm an anti-pooled employer plan person, and
Yep.
so they're laughing.
Great.
They're out.
We have one. We have one because I didn't want to not have one.
Yeah. And I do want to say for the record, I've said this from the very beginning. The one place where I think a PEP makes sense, and go back and look for what I've said, is a national advisor shop that had tended to focus more in the upper market, wants to provide a solution for the micro market, and then does the due diligence to build their own PEP and makes a quality one that lacks conflicts of interest, and then tries to sell that to the crowd. I'm totally okay with that. Where I'm against PEPs are when they're outside of the advisor's control. And so if at Prime Capital or you guys are building your own, I'm totally cool with that. But we won't get into the PEP argument. I could go
that's
on.
fine. I don't want to die on that hill for sure. For sure.
I just feel like, here's my quick one on the, I think I said it. Yeah. I owe a couple of trains. That's what the graphic was flying on the screen. My biggest problem with it, Maddie, is that, what you just said was all those new startup plans and this new tidal wave of new plans to solve the coverage gap. What they could really use is fiduciary services. They need to outsource their fiduciary responsibility. And what I've always said is I live in the micro space, right? So I'm a third-party administrator. That's what we've been selling for coming up on 50 years. We sell startup plans. That's what we do all the time. And guess what percentage of the startup plans that my sales team sells would like to pay the extra cost for a 316 fiduciary? It's not a thing, bro. They're trying to keep the cost down. And so what's funny about pooled employer plans is we're selling premium level services to startup auto body shops and flower shops on the corner that don't want to pay that premium. And the government was sold on this economies of scale that these things were going to be cheaper because we're going to pool together all these small employers. And the dust has already settled on that, and they're not. We'll move on. I'm already getting hot and flustered.
This is awesome. I think they're the best thing ever created. No.
God damn it. I'm swigging right off the tequila right now. Just one little. Oh boy. Okay. Woo. I got one more thing because I don't know. So I'm just a retirement plan guy. I never really focused on this. The 5-part test. So this is at the core of all this, right? So the 5-part test will be replaced by something else. Maybe if you can give us a kind of 15-second kind of synopsis of what the fuck that means.
Well, first of all, the 5-part test is from 1975. And think about how different the retirement plan world and the IRA world is in 2024 versus 75, right? I mean, you can't even really, somebody just said you needed to compare apples to apples. You certainly can't even do it there, right? So it's a completely different world. But the general essence of that was that there had to be like this regular basis. That's the key term. Like one of those 5 parts is this idea that advice was being paid or was being given on a regular basis. And so think about how easy that would be for somebody who didn't want to be a fiduciary and wanted to give advice. It was really easy to get out of that. Like nobody wanted to be called that F word, right? And so they're like, I will run from this and I'll just get out of that regular basis test. Well, shit. What we can see now is if we get rid of that, the question becomes a little bit less about whether that advisor can fall out under one of those 5 parts. And instead, is there the type of relationship where the recipient of the advice feels like, hey, this is advice given to me by a financial professional. I should be able to rely upon that. So that's without going through the whole 5-part test, JD. I mean, I think that's the key part, is that regular basis, that idea that, these financial recommendations are given on a regular basis. And that's really the biggest argument, is to get rid of that. And what's interesting about that, by the way,
Get rid
and
of
I've
the
seen some
get rid of the kind of one transaction safety net type of thing. I got
yeah, exactly. Their point would be, hey, I've only given you one rollover recommendation. I only told you to buy this expensive annuity one time. That's not regular. And what's interesting about, I've seen some comments in here too about like how there will be lawsuits filed, right? And the Republicans will find a jurisdiction that will strike this down. If Biden wins re-election, then the Republicans will find a place and they'll strike it down. So it probably won't be around very long. But one of the arguments there is going to be that this is outside of, the statutory language. Well, the 1975 one is kind of outside of the statutory language too. I mean, they're both interpretive guidance, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I think one of the key points on this fiduciary reg is, and I'll be interested in the comments here, this is not a political stance, but so if
it
Trump
starts to
wins,
become one a little bit.
if Trump wins, this thing's struck down right away.
That's America in 2024.
It's gone.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
Maddie, we can turn every subject into a political one.
We could. You're right. But if Biden wins, it hangs around a little bit longer until a court strikes it down. So you're really left at the end, like just wondering how many firms are going to adopt that shift in ideology, so that the next time this comes up again, they'll do like kind of what Nevin said, when they're like, yeah. So.
Hey, Hackler, another great one there. I know I'm all up Hackler's ass right now, but he just said Biden can't run, and he's mean.
He can't even walk. He said.
Yeah. Good one. So that reminds me. Don't forget, everyone. Chat Bar Champion has changed in 2024. We have a leaderboard. We have standings throughout the year, and 1,000 points are up for grab tonight. So swing for the fences, people. Swing for the fences.
Very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I have the.
Let's I'm gonna leave it up to you, Maddie. You wanna play a game, or do you want to talk about in-plan retirement income solutions? You tell me. While I fill up my tequila.
Let's play a game first.
All right, let's play a game. Well,
let's play a game.
The game we're gonna play, Maddie, is a totally original game that was invented by me. Many people try to copy it, but they're never successful. They try to use different names for it and try to do it different ways, but I want you to know I created this game. It's goddamn genius. It's a totally original no-per-dope game. The way this game works, Maddie, is I'm going to actually just bring up a thing. It could be pop culture, whatever. And I'm going to ask you if you think it is nope or you think it is dope. And then what we would love, what the chat bar would love, is for you to explain to us why you think it's dope or dope. Okay. The first one is, I didn't think it was controversial until I wrote it down. Now that I look at it, I feel like I might offend some people. So I apologize. But this happens to me personally in life. So the husband, I know this is very kind of, male against female. Again, I apologize. The husband sitting shotgun while the wife drives the car. My wife will not let me drive her anywhere. Like, she always has to drive. I have to sit shotgun. This could even be if we're taking my truck somewhere. Crystal says, I prefer to drive. I feel, we talked about vocabulary earlier. Emasculated, that's not a word. Something like that. I just feel like I'm a little boy getting in the passenger seat while my wife drives. How do you feel about this, Maddie? Nope or dope on the
Oh,
husband sitting shotgun?
it's dope.
You like it?
You need to get over those insecurities to begin with.
I do.
And get over your sense of the patriarchy a little bit too. And then I mean, here's the deal. I like to watch streaming shows while I drive, but I think it's a lot more dangerous when I have that mounted, like by my steering wheel, than if I could sit in the passenger seat and hold my phone instead of look at it while I'm driving on the freeway.
Yes. Okay. The second nope or dope question, Maddie, is watching videos while you drive a fucking car. Jesus
Dope.
Christ.
Fantastic. Dope.
That is not okay. I have never watched Kelly Slater in a surf competition with my phone propped right in front of my speedometer. It's never happened.
Never happened.
Never in my life.
Especially as specific as that was. I'm sure it's never happened.
Okay, fine. You're right. I will take your advice and to improve myself as a human being. I also saw someone in the chat bar say, hey, it's a great time for a roadie. Like you can drink while someone else is driving. I definitely agree. That's a good point. I should bring a beverage in the car every time my wife drives. Okay, next no or dope question. I'm sure you have a bit of a conflict of interest with this one, but that's okay. Being named a fellow. Are you no or dope on being named a fellow? And when you're named a fellow, do you wear a bow tie and like a little hat or something? Or do they, I don't know. I'm also imagining like a Harry Potter type of scene. Does someone hit you with a wand? Like what the fuck is being named a fellow? Nope or dope?
Dope.
Of course you would say that.
I have to say that because the only way it happens is you get people to go like fight for you. And you get like really like people who've been important in your life and people who've been important in your career to like go through a bunch of time. So I think I got to honor that and say thank you. Now, I don't know about the other stuff.
Hang on. These people that are fighting for you, are these like people you admire?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Okay.
Definitely. So it's a cool thing. But I don't know about the rest because I was in a burlap bag the entire ceremony. So we don't get to like see what happens. So I don't know if that was a wand or a cane or a bat. I don't know what they were hitting us with, but it was after 7 or 8 of those taps upon the temple, it gets better.
Wow.
That's all I can tell you.
Well, it's scary when you're in the burlap bag and you're inside the pentagram of candles that, you feel like the bag could go on fire.
Well, it's weird because you can't see the candles through there most of the time, but you can feel it because it gets hot. So that was that, Yeah.
Damn. God damn. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And what I love, I'm going to dream right now in front of everyone watching, just expose my inner self. What I love for Frederic and Nevin Adams and Preston Murray to like nominate me to be a fellow of 401k. Are you kidding me? I would be so excited. That would be awesome. Okay, good for you. You've changed my mind. You've changed my mind on fellow. Okay. I drink my coffee in the morning black, just fucking, as dark roasted as possible. My daughter, my vegan daughter, she drinks tea all the time. She's always offering me up a tea. And I try. I put the little bag in the hot water and let it seep or whatever it's got to do. And I don't know. Drinking tea, Maddie, are you nope or dope on drinking tea?
Nope. Trying too hard.
Trying too hard. What are you trying too hard?
Trying to be trying to be outside of the norm. Just drink a coffee. Okay. I mean,
I think you just nailed my daughter like straight
young
on.
Kids,
that's her.
Young kids should do what they want. But so maybe the rule is if you're 21 and older, nope, just drink coffee.
Josh,
coffee's everywhere.
All fellows drink tea. All fellows drink tea. Yeah. After that rough night with the candles and the burlap bags, they have tea in the morning for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. An oblong, or maybe a green tea. Maybe a green tea.
Well, and I think it's a shame that I guess we can let it go that you have that objection to the teabagging you referenced earlier, so we can move on from that.
All right, I got one for you.
Everybody was thinking it.
I got one for you. This one really frustrates me. Not to like influence your decision here, which I know is not true. You don't care what I say. You're going to answer your honest truth. That's very clear to me. So let me go ahead and set it up. Tails on shrimp. I order a pasta. I order a, whatever, and I want shrimp in it. I pass on the chicken or the pork, but I want shrimp. And yeah, I want those little curly guys and their pink little bodies to kind of chew into, but I paid for my meal. I don't want to have to pull off and discard the hard little gross, dirty tail that's there. And worse, what if I miss one? I'm just going into the pasta, like leaving the tails on the shrimp. Nope or dope?
Nope. And it would only be dope if it were also okay to eat your chicken with the feathers on it.
Excellent analogy.
Or the whatever we call the outer shell on a cow, which escapes me right now, but we'll just go with the outer shell of a cow. The hide. There you go. You go with the hide of a cow. Can you imagine if you go in and order like a 21-ounce, ribeye, and they bring it out and there's, some sort of like
through the
hide on top
leather,
of it?
Yeah. That's not
and the other thing that's weird is, how it's awkward to cut those things off because you don't want to use a knife with pasta.
No, I put my dirty fingers in there and I pull them off.
You pull them off, or you're like trying to side cut with the fork. And yeah, I'm with you. It's a no.
You know what sucks about when you cut it is I feel like you're losing some shrimp meat. So you go to cut and it's kind of like trimming your dog's nails. You don't want to get them down at the whatever the fuck that's called. So you got to give a little room for error there. So when I'm cutting the shrimp tail, I'm losing out on all kinds of shrimp meat that I paid for in my fucking pasta.
I'm with you.
I would love for a restaurateur or a Michelin star chef to let me know what's the pro of leaving it on. Like, why? Is it presentation?
Have you watched The Bear?
Of course. I love it. Love it.
How about,
all 2 seasons.
So if anybody,
alert away. Go ahead.
If anybody hasn't watched The Bear, first of all, they should stop listening right now and go watch it. And then they should get to episode 7 and watch.
You're so right. You got to stick with it. You're gonna be in the beginning and feel like you want to bail out. Don't stay.
And when you get to Forks, that's episode 7 of season 2, and you see all the care that they take to do everything and why that matters. And then you wonder why they would possibly leave.
I guarantee you in the Forks episode, they take the tails off at that restaurant.
Absolutely, they do.
Yeah, we agree.
Absolutely.
We agree on that.
We're good.
Okay, good. All right, we'll move away from the game. Well done, Maddie. Well done. Great explanations. Sound advice. I feel like anytime I come to a fork in the path of life, I should call you. You have phenomenal advice. You are of sound mind, and we'll move on. Okay, I'm drinking a lot of tequila right now. I don't have to coach basketball a little bit.
No, you don't.
Let's go to the next article. 401k Specialist magazine has an article titled 401k Kids. Bill seeks to create savings accounts for every American child. I should have pulled this up. I didn't pull it up. I'm not going to go search for it now, but I read it from start to finish. Okay. We were bashing on the government earlier, saying, I don't want the government involved in my retirement plan stuff. We have had guests on this show before that have talked about the potential advantage of creating an individual retirement account for your child at a young age.
I just bought some stocks. See, it was totally easy. Check
E-Trade,
this out.
baby.
Boom. More stocks. Boom. Asset-backed securities. Boom. Credit default swaps. Boom. 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 God, it just dropped 400 points. This is not happening. Dear Lord, I made a horrible, horrible mistake. Shit. It's dropping more. Fuck. I want to take it back. How do I fucking take it back? Sell.
That's phenomenal. And obviously everyone in this chat bar or watching out there recorded understands that, through the power of compounding, if you can get someone started early, we could do a lot of really cool shit for kids as they reach age 18 or 25 or whatever. So part of me really likes that concept. When I read this, the real how of it was that I think I saw a $2,500 max per year that you could put into this thing. And again, this is just a proposed bill. I think it's got like 5 different Democrats that are behind it, Chuck Schumer, some others, but why the Democratic kind of government side? Well, if you're not a rich person and you're lower income, and they don't go into details here, but maybe the government would start kicking in some kind of money into it to kind of start it off for lower paid people. So you're the guest on the show. I'll fucking ask you. So how do you feel about this?
Well, I think if you were wondering whether it's an election year, proposals like this help to answer that question, right? Like
I can't pinpoint you. Earlier, I thought you were a strong Biden supporter. Now I think you're fucking MAGA, bro. Don't answer, but keep going.
Yeah. You don't want to be one or the other necessarily, but
no, you don't.
It's posturing.
You can't be RFK Jr., buddy. That's not going to work. You got to pick one.
Yeah. It's posturing to a pretty great degree. I think I understand it. If you read the comments around it, though, they're saying if you get to age 21 or 22 and you had, 50 grand in there, that was what you would need to be able to become independently wealthy. And I know that's how Josh Itzo got started, was on that account. It was a savings bond. It just redoubled multiple times, and it was 50 grand, and he turned it into this.
Itzo, by the way, just so you know, we both owe 3 drinks right now. Believe it or not, this is the truth. Josh's last name is an Acrosym on this game. So ring us up, Brandon. Josh would be nowhere without the money that his parents provided for him and that little savings. So you're totally right.
Yeah. I'm guessing that Schumer and others don't want to use that ad that you showed too, because I don't think they're proposing to have the kids manage the money within that, but that'd probably be a non-starter.
It's a self-directed account. You got to let the baby choose what they want, man.
You do. Absolutely right.
Obviously, that's to me it was issue. Your only issue then, which I totally get, would probably be my only issue with this, is if the government's putting in money, then we got to have this conversation, because we all know the government's money doesn't come out of a magical tree of dollar bills. It comes from everyone's pockets.
Right.
And so then we're kind of, giving money to these people. Now, with that said, and I think people that watch the show has figured out that I'm pretty much Republican, but I like the idea of trying to seed young children and babies' accounts and kind of, like I said earlier, use this power of compounding to, yes, I'll make fun of your 50K, but for a lot of those kids that are now young adults, to have $50,000. And I think the article talks about, okay, you can use it for school, and they even talk about building this on the chassis of 529 plans. 529s. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, it's the mechanics are there, the operations, they got it all figured. Yeah. But they talk about you could use it to start a new business. You could save it and use it for actual retirement. So I don't know. I think it's kind of cool for us to figure out, let's put some money in for kids. I guess my draw line is, how much money are we going to give to, other people? And then I guess you could get really, and maybe this is where you're going with it, Maddie, is on the whole Itzo thing, which I'll drink for, is just because you throw 50K at someone doesn't mean they're not going to fuck it up and spend it on natty lights and a new truck and then be done with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a neat idea.
Okay, well, we'll see where it goes. But it's got me thinking I maybe should vote for Biden. That's pretty good. I don't know. I give you my word. He's gonna be Okay. We have come to the point of the show that we are going to name a chat bar champion. The way this works, Maddie, is you've been paying attention to that chat bar.
Mhm.
You are going to vote for your favorite person in that chat bar. I mean, they could have been the most intelligent, the most witty. Maybe they're the I don't know, maybe you hung out with them a week ago and you just want to tell them you love them by nominating them. But this year, we're going to hold a standings. And every year, I'm babbling now. Who do you want to vote for? Maddie, who's your vote for chat bar champion? Y'all know how this fucking works. Anyone in that list?
Crystal.
Okay. Crystal's
Um,
been, I feel
she's-
like Crystal's been away for a while. Why Crystal?
Yeah. Yeah, Crystal, because I saw her name earlier when I still had access to my full screen before I got kicked off and I've been working off my phone.
And you simply
And
remember
I saw the
her
last
name.
name Benson, and I thought of the old sitcom, and then Itzo just recommended her, and I wanted to take a drink.
Drink.
So I think she has 2 strikes in her favor.
She's good. She's a good check. She's been a
There you go.
Retireholics faithful, and then we've kind of lost her for a little while. She says, "Yeah, I've been busy." You've all heard this before. Let's remind Crystal, shall we, chat bar? Crystal, get your priorities straight. What the fuck? Like it's the first and third Thursday. You know, if you can't schedule your life around that and like have a commitment to your fucking industry and your career, you need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Okay? She's usually napping.
Okay.
Well, yeah, a nap. You didn't say that. I understand that. A nap is a valuable thing. I'm gonna piss everyone off, but I think it's well deserved. I know I mentioned it early on, and I don't necessarily like the short wearing guy. This guy wears shorts like 365 days a year, but I'm going with Hackler. I'm going with Hackler for my. Okay, so now here's how we're gonna do it. Maddie, you are a witty person. You're a fellow, so you should be able to pull this off. You're gonna have to create a sentence for each of these 2 candidates to finish with their in the chat bar. So you'll say something to the effect of, you know, if I drove JD's truck, I would drive it here, or whatever you want. You know, you pick whatever. Okay, it doesn't have to involve JD. I'll just give you an example. So you come up with a sentence that they have to finish, and then we pick the winner based on how creative their answer is. You ready? You can do this. Blurt it out. Sentence, go. Crystal and
If
Hackler,
JD
you're head to head.
If JD were thrown in a burlap sack and exposed to candles all around him and hit upside the head with a pogo stick 8 times, he would cry in.
And he would cry and. Okay, Crystal. Okay, Hackler. This is your chance to get 1,000 points. Who do we have? Brandon, what's going on? Oh, who lost him? Now he's coming back.
I'm back.
Crystal says, put on his tin hat. Okay, and by tin hat, I believe you mean tinfoil hat. We get it. All right. Let's referencing the show a little bit. Okay.
Hackler.
Hackler says, ask for a beer. Maddie? Hackler.
Yeah.
And the chat bar champion for the very first show in February and winning 1,000 points to join first place on the leaderboard with Brian Williams and Nate Moody. We now have a 3-way tie at the top of the chat bar champion Retireholics leaderboard. All right. Matthew, Maddie,
JD.
thank you for joining us tonight. We very much appreciate your wit, your intelligence. Wait, that's the same thing. Your funniness. That's a word, right? It's gotta be funniness. I think so. Yeah. Let me look it up. And and spending some time with us. So hopefully we'll have you back sometime. I mean, maybe not. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll wait and see, right?
We never know what the future will hold for us. Unless we ask Teresa Gillardi, she knows. But thanks for being here. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you think she might say that this experiment has failed and that we should just give up?
No, I don't think so. I think even if Teresa was here, she would say, I don't know. I kind of like this. I kind of like this JD Maddie thing. I think it could go somewhere. I think we should continue on. She might even, dare I say, put some of y'all's money into it. Let's put some government money behind this thing, you know, like let's take from the taxes and promote a future JD and Maddie show.
Everything about this whole thing feels like a governmental production. I mean, it just so thank you, JD.
And thank you to you out there, you dedicated 401k freakazoids. I appreciate you. I love you. You're my family, really. If we're gonna be honest about this, you're my little Thursday night family. And that means like after the show and after a few more tequilas and a little bit of Golf Central, I would like to cuddle up with you under the covers and spoon you. We'd wear our pajamas. We wouldn't be naked. It would be a friend thing, just like a friend community spooning in the bed. That's what I'd like to do to you. That's how much I love you. Yes, Ed. Yikes. That's the proper response. We will see you in 2 weeks for an experimental version of Retireholics. No, I have not fired Rogue Guy. I've not fired Nerdy Chad, nor have I let go Silent J. They will all be back for that show, and we look forward to seeing you there. Game show format, maybe. I like that idea. Love you too, Pankaj. Love you too. Brandon, play us some music. Let's get the fuck out of here. See you later, everybody. We are the Retireholics. Justin Timberlake Show. Changing the retirement plan industry